sometimes you get lucky and you find a property in the right location which turns out to be a real moneymaker. It's very likely that you will find another investor who is willing to give you top dollar for the property. Hey again, welcome to my real estate channel. I am a super host and me and my girlfriend are licensed realtor, property manager, and we like to share you valuable tips for the Las Vegas real estate market. Hey everyone, welcome back. In the first video, which I link up here, we talk about the requirements, laws and regulations to start your Airbnb business in Las Vegas. In this video, we will talk about the different property types and which one might be the best one for you to start your short-term rental business here in Vegas. Before we dive into the different property types, let's talk what difference it makes by owning properties which you turn into Airbnb or when you rent and turn them into Airbnbs. So if you rent a property and your landlord is allowing you to sublease it, you theoretically can put it up on Airbnb. But you need to be careful and you still need to follow the city guidelines and requirements. So it's technically possible when you are renting that you can sublease your rental. It can be an apartment and it can be a single family house. Remember to also check with the HOA if they allowed subleases or short-term rental. I know for fact that some HOA actually have no rental restriction, so you can lease it out for monthly or short-term rental on the market. But to make sure, I would recommend you to contact a local licensed real estate agent or a property manager to make sure that you are on the safe side. Now let's dive into the different property types here in Las Vegas and check out which property types might be a good investment and the right investment for you. So you can see in my screen I got the Airbnb website. So if you scroll or zoom into specific areas, you will see way more options and properties are popping up all over the place. So you might ask me which is the right property for you and which property generates the highest returns. Let me show you this. AirDNA is a tracker for the bookings of Airbnb, so you get accurate numbers for occupancy rate, for nightly rate, and about the performance of each property on Airbnb. So for example, if you have a property which you want to buy in a specific area, let's say it's right here in Las Vegas, you can zoom in and check out the properties close to your location. You can see the performance of the properties from the last 12 months, their average daily rate and the occupancy rate and how much they approximately make in a year in revenue. So you can compare your potential investment with the current track record of other Airbnb properties in that area. But also remember to compare it with the right size, right bedroom amounts and bathroom amounts, and make sure that they kinda look alike. For more details, you can also click on the property, see the listing itself, and you can see what amenities they have, in what location they are, if they provide a pool. All those factors play a role for the nightly rate. Now that you know how to look if your potential investment is a good one or not, let us talk about single family properties. So let's take this one for example. This is a very typical house here in Las Vegas. It's a 2-story home with a living room and kitchen downstairs. We have a dining area and usually 3 to 4 bedrooms are upstairs and with 2 to 3 baths. Those are very common here in Las Vegas and they all share about 15 to 2000 square feet and have usually a small backyard. He has also a 2-car garage and the backyard has a small dining area. So this property is very common here in Las Vegas, and we need to think what demographic this property will attract. This type of property we can agree on will attract families with kids and larger groups. Usually people who travel for several days will book a larger house with a garage and a kitchen because they want to stay there and want to cook for themselves. And having several bedrooms of course will attract a larger group or a family. Single family houses can be also attractive for families and for people or groups who work from home. Now let us talk about the pros and cons to acquire a single family house to turn it into a short-term rental. Let's start with the pros. One pro is the acquisition cost. The acquisition cost of a single family house is usually a fair market value, and the next big pro is you don't need to do a lot of construction. Usually the house which you are selecting for your investment has already the right amount of bedrooms, and having the right layout will reduce or eliminate your construction costs. Another advantage of a single family house is you basically only need the furniture and the essentials to get your Airbnb business started. So it only requires a little time to get the right furniture and your essentials, and you can get started very early. So these are the 3 major pros for single family houses. Another big advantage single family houses has is that you can easily sell the property because you did not a lot of construction to turn it into something else. So it's easier to sell the property after you decide Airbnb business is not for you. Another advantage is single family houses can also appreciate in value, and if you invest to later cash out refinance or to sell the property, a nice good appreciation on the property can turn into a good profit for you. So now let's talk about the disadvantage. Single family house has a significant disadvantage when it comes to competition. It doesn't really matter where you scroll in Las Vegas, you will see that there are a lot of competitors. You see in the list there are many single family homes with pools, without pools, large or small, all kinds are there. So you can expect the competition to be very fierce. So from my experience, I can say that the nightly rates might be not so good and you might have a lot of vacancy. I can also tell you it's not so easy to stand out in this kind of environment. The only way to stand out is to have fancy decoration or remodels, or of course you can go lower in price, which is usually not advisable. Another very drawback for single family houses are the requirements and regulations if you want to follow city guidelines and laws. Everything regarding city laws, regulations and requirements is in the first part of the video, which I will link up here. Another drawback is that single family houses are only targeting a specific demographic. The demographics are larger families, families in general, larger groups, people who work from home and travelers. So this is not very flexible. Another point I don't like so much with single family houses as short-term rentals is that the cash flow is actually not as good as many people would expect. So many people overestimate the cash flow they get from their property because they don't actually calculate the occupancy rate or the vacancy rate into their calculations and only use the nightly rates, but I showed you to use the Airbnb data on AirDNA to find a good occupancy rate. But I can tell you that you will find your occupancy rate or vacancy rate once you operate your property over 3 to 6 months. From my experience, usually the net cash flow from a short-term rental is not so much of a difference comparing to a long-term rental or a monthly furniture rental. So in short, you need to decide for yourself if a single family house and turning it into a short-term rental is right for you or not. When you are focusing on good appreciation and you are okay with a lower cash flow, then single family properties might be the right one for you. Now let us talk about the advantages and disadvantages about apartments. So first off, apartments have usually HOA, so you need to make sure that your HOA have no rental restrictions and you are allowed to do short-term rentals. Let us look into this area right here. You can see that there are a lot of listings. This is because this apartment or condo complex is allowing people to do Airbnb. So this area is very crowded, as you can see. Let me show you the listings over at Zillow. So there are properties which are selling now for 225,000 and it's just a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom with 496 square feet, and this is how they usually look like. You see that the range is from 225 to all the way up to 340,000 for a 2-bed, 2-bathroom. So I kind of already spilled out that one of the disadvantages for apartments are that it's kind of overcrowded and you will have fierce competition. But let's talk about the advantages first. You see from the price that it's not a lot to acquire such a property. If you get a loan for this kind of property with a 20% down payment, let's say the 225,000 one, you are paying 45,000 in down payment. Maybe you add another 5,000 in closing costs and you get the property furnished for another 20,000 to 30,000. You might have a money generating property below 100,000. I know for certain that this kind of properties actually do appreciate alright. Especially during the pandemic, those properties were selling at around 13 to 16,000, and you can see from the current prices that they recovered quite well. Another good selling point for apartments is they are very easy to maintain because the HOA is taking care everything what has to do with the exterior. So you don't usually need to take care of the roof, the exterior paint, the parking lots, the cleaning outside, and usually some utilities are also included like sewer, trash and water. Because apartments are being so small, it's also usually easy or cost efficient to renovate them. If you like what was shared, then please give a thumbs up, like and subscribe to the channel to help the YouTube algorithm and the channel to grow. Thank you so much. Now let's talk about the disadvantages. I kinda already spilled out the first disadvantage. It was like overcrowded and the competition is fierce. So from my experience, I know that apartments occupancy rate, nightly rates and vacancy rates are usually not so good in favor of the investor. And of course, all apartments and condo units fall under the restrictions, regulations and laws of the city, which are not so lenient and easy to follow, which can be also a drawback for you to buy an apartment and turn it into a short-term rental. So our conclusion is it might be the right investment for you when you don't want to spend a lot of money into the short-term rental business, or when you just started out and want to know the market. All properties which are easy to acquire and too easy to build as a short-term rentals are having a big competition. I'm so sorry to interrupt right here. The video got a little bit longer than I expect, so we will have a part 2 and a part 3 regarding if it's a good idea to invest in Las Vegas for short-term rentals in 2023. So see you guys in the next video. Thank you, bye.